Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
And that's, wait, let's do that wrong. That's Dan. It's 125 episodes in. You'd think I'd get the point, right? So thanks, everyone, for joining our show today, a special Tuesday show. So normally we go live every Wednesday from about 12 o'clock Central Time. That would be, 10 o'clock California time. 1 o'clock on the cheese toast.
On the cheese toast.
We have what's the mountain time is like 11. Some people would have done that like in order, but whatever.
That's
Christina,
not how our brains work, though. So
that's right. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday episode, mainly because the holiday is starting tomorrow, and I will be out of town. I'll be in the Deer Woods. So that's good.
We were going to take the week off. Usually we take this week off. But some stuff happened.
Huge news broke after our show last week, which I think they're doing on purpose now. So we decided we'd catch them off guard. We'd go ahead and do a Tuesday show anyway. So prepare for a lot of people to be scrambling to get the news out tomorrow that they were thinking about putting on Thanksgiving Day. Yes, and so the reason why I'm telling you when we go live, because you might be thinking, well, I can always just watch this recorded thing, or I'm loving the podcast. Yes, you can, but you can also join us live and then comment live, just like Christina M. Smallhorn did. And she said, hey, you sexy bearded men. Hello, how are you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Melissa Maria said 5 p.m. UST. Yeah, is it? Wait, it's UTC, right? Is it UTC?
Universal Time Central or Universal Time. Yeah.
It's literally 5 o'clock somewhere. And Christine says, I thought I'd make you feel weird to start off things. Oh, well done. Paul, he's joining the show. He says hello. Thank you, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Paul Osipov. How close
by the way,
on the pronunciation of your last name, Paul?
I think it's Osipov. I don't think that's when when you have like the Greg, with all the consonants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you did try, but if you are watching us live, remember on Facebook, you can also watch us live over on YouTube and comment, and your comment will come through. And if you don't like us, you're just here for the news, we will have timestamps. You can fast forward ahead. And also we will have BMORE clips or BMORE chops. We chop things up so you can just watch this segment, the next segment, whatever it is, but you got to go do that over on the YouTubes. So go make sure to subscribe and push that bell on.
That's right. And Paul says I nailed his last name. Good.
Nailed it.
You got to guess sometimes. Well, we will, like if you're watching this on YouTube later, like Dan said, if you're just anxious to get into some of these headlines, because we have some incredible headlines today. The DOJ, the DOJ.
No. Snoop Dogg.
Oh wow. Yippee. Okay, so anyway.
So if you hate all this stuff,
that's right. Snoop sues the NAR. No, not exactly. The DOJ sues the NAR, and the NAR settles at the same time. So we're going to talk about that, what that means for realtors, what that means for consumers in the real estate industry as a whole. Does it change things or does it not change things? So we're going to talk about that first off. Then we're going to get into a couple of other stories. One of them is we have some incredible housing data from October. And Dan, you had a specific request for people. If they're watching the show live and they want to contribute live in the chat, what specific number do you want them to look up?
So just do a basic. I mean, we're at the end of November, so just do your numbers, literally closed sales. And I always do my city, and I'm not going to give you my number yet, but I always do just my city because it's a pretty big city and we have lots going on as far as houses go. But just do January 1st to end of November, which essentially now, and then divide that number by 11, and that'll give you your closes per month. And then give me active sales right now.
Active, like under contract?
No, currently active. Just that'll give us a history of, how much, because there is a stat in there.
How many solds per month is what we're looking at.
How many solds per month? And then when you know the actives, then you know roughly what your current inventory is and how long you have, because there's a stat in the story that I have that is alarming.
This is what we're looking for then. I'm just want to make sure I have it right. We're looking for the closed unites. No, closed units.
Or units, yeah.
From Jan to today divided by 11, and how many homes are available for sale.
So yeah, how many current actives, not under contract, just actives. And I know they're going quickly, but the national number may alarm you. And Susie Orman is still wrong.
units. Thanks. All right, so we're going to talk about that. Let me see. Where'd my rundown? Oh, there's my rundown. Okay, the show rundown here. We're also going to talk about CoStar. It bought HomeSnap, and the forbearance rate increases for the first time since June. We'll get into that. What's it mean for the economy? Are we all doomed? There is one person that thinks we may be doomed. A former subprime player claims he can now short the mortgage market.
That one is interesting.
That's really interesting. That's some big short stuff there. So we're going to get into all these news stories in just a little bit. But before we do, Dan, can you tell people what BMORE is actually all about?
You know what? I'd love to. Now, when Ray and I met here on the interwebs 4 years ago, we're calling it 4 years. We're rounding up because we're coming in on it quickly on our 125th show. But I hadn't had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a bearded man of real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him. He has 22 cats as pets. Did you guys know that?
I am quite the cat lady.
He's a cat lover. No, but obviously I noticed he had a glorious beard, but he also had a format or a layout for the show, and it's the same format we use today. But I also noticed that he loves giving value up front to not only his clients, but just to humans in general. Meow. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
Let's just look at this for a minute, okay? HomeSnap.
He's doing it.
Okay.
You will never see the word homeowner the same again.
HomeSnap. There you go. Oh, Melissa Mars, she's already got her stats. She's on top of it. Thank you, Melissa. Okay.
Ooh.
So let's take a look. Are you ready to get into the headlines?
Yeah, let's do it. Because then remember, we'll come back to these numbers. So if you have them, if you're looking for them, go ahead and post them in the comments. We'll come back to them. Always trying to time it with the dude that's. I'm trying to time it with the dude that's 1,700 miles away from me. It's difficult.
It is. Well, it kind of weirded out on us a little bit there.
Yeah.
All right, Ramsey Stewart. Looking forward to watching this one.
I
hope you're looking forward to participating in it.
Not any of the 124 previous episodes, but this one.
This one.
Just kidding, buddy. We love you.
Ramsey, you should also check out some of the BMORE chops. So we have episodes of our whole show chopped up into just headlines that we release later, and this one will be one of them too. I feel like this one will be a pretty popular one.
Well, and if you hate beards and hate good-looking men, then we do have a podcast. This is not the show for you, but we are a podcast as well. Sure. We still consider ourselves a podcast. So That's go true. Just say Home Spy Device, play the Bearded Man Real Estate Show podcast, and they will play
Home Spy Device. I'm calling it that from now on.
Home Spy Device.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into this first article. The DOJ sues the NAR. Alleges illegal restraints on realtor competition.
Dude, I have goosebumps right now for this one.
Yeah. So this Inman is the one that's kind of covering this. I thought they had some of the best coverage, definitely the most in-depth coverage. If you go to inman.com, look at this article. It breaks it down into detail at the end. We're just going to kind of talk about a quick summary and what that means. So here's my write-up on this thing. It could have said this. The DOJ sues NAR, settles with DOJ. Because if you were around Thursday, that's how fast everything happened. I got the notice of the headline. I shot it to our BMORE contributors chat group, and Ryan Bokros sent me the video from NAR, which was already done, that talked about their settlement with the DOJ. Now, this is
they already knew it was coming. They had a video ready.
They knew it was coming. They had the agreement in place, and this is technically, I think it's a proposed settlement until everything's agreed upon, which I don't know what the dates are on that stuff. But the DOJ announced that it filed an antitrust lawsuit against the NAR Thursday, stating that the group's rules are illegal restraints on realtor competition. The four main points of the complaint are as follows. Prohibiting the MLS, and I'm quoting directly from the article, which I think is directly from the complaint too. Prohibiting MLSs that are affiliated with NAR from disclosing to prospective buyers the commission that the buyer broker will earn if a buyer purchases a home listed on the MLS. Number two, allowing buyer brokers to misrepresent to buyers that a buyer broker's services are free. Y'all may have heard us talking about that one before. Number 3, enabling buyer brokers to filter MLS listings based on the level of buyer broker commissions offered and to exclude homes with lower commissions from consideration by potential home buyers. And limiting access to lockboxes that provide licensed brokers with access to homes for sale to brokers who work for a NAR affiliated MLS. So here's a quote from this complaint. And remember those 4 things. I'll kind of repeat them as we break it down in a little bit, but those are the main 4 complaints in the DOJ's complaint. Here's a quote. These NAR rules, policies, and practices have been widely adopted and enforced by NAR-affiliated MLSs and are therefore agreements among competing real estate brokers, each of which reduce price competition among brokers and lead to lower quality service for American home buyers and sellers. As a response, the NAR told Inman that it had reached an agreement and put out a video to that effect from the 2021 incoming president of the NAR. Here's what they stated. In accordance with the MLS, and this is again a quote from Inman, which I believe is a quote directly from NAR.
Right.
Quote. In accordance with the MLS system's long-standing focus on creating efficient, transparent marketplace for home buyers and sellers, the amount of compensation offered to buyers' agents for each MLS listing will be made publicly available. Publicly accessible MLS data feeds will include offers of compensation, and buyers' agents will have an affirmative obligation to provide such information to their clients for homes of interest. Another part of this. Oh, wait. I went way down the page here. This is a big article. I've actually got to expand my view here to see. The rule changes reaffirm that MLS brokerages, as always, must provide consumers all properties that fit their criteria, regardless of competition or compensation offered, or the name of the listing brokerage, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know you could sort by brokerage name.
Yeah.
While NAR has long encouraged buyers agents to explain how they expect to be paid, typically though, that buyers agents cannot represent, wait, I just skipped a line. Typically through offers of cooperative compensation from sellers agents, there will be a rule that more definitively states that buyers agents cannot represent their services as free to clients. So basically, you've heard agents say before, I'm free to use. And I actually did a real estate fake estate on this and talked about how maybe that agent wasn't actually free and what to look for and what they're saying. So I should link that up. But in the meantime, that has been going on and has been needed to stop for a long time. So I totally agree with this. We'll get into the details later. With the seller's prior approval, I thought this one was really interesting. With the seller's prior approval, a licensed real estate agent will have access to the lockboxes of property listed on an MLS, even if the agent does not subscribe to the MLS.
What?
Ooh. Here's a quote from the NAR. And this is actually, there was a whole bunch of quotes from the NAR. This one I just thought was really interesting because I think we can let you guys decide whether it's true. It says, quote, most of the changes seek to more explicitly state what has already been the spirit and intent of the NAR's Code of Ethics and MLS policies regarding providing information. Not necessarily allowing access, but regarding providing information. So there were several quotes in this article. Again, you can go to Inman and check it out. I'm actually going to link up the article because I thought it was a really, really good one. It goes super, super in depth. Let me put the article back up there so you can see kind of some of the details on this thing. It goes really in depth. So once you get below the fold, as they say in the business, I don't know if they actually say that, but once you get below the fold here, here's what I read to you guys. The 4 main parts.
Quotes.
Right. So then right here, it breaks it down. Commissions and steering, talks about experience and what the agents or what the client's fears are, free agents, quote unquote, filtering MLS listings, lockbox access, the proposed settlement. And then the DOJ can still come after NAR's other rules. So that's cool. So anyway, that's the entire article. Again, I'll post it here. But I want to know you guys. I want to know what you think about this suit I want to know how you feel about the verdict, like what the DOJ said was the problem. Do you agree that that's an actual problem? And then what NAR said was the fix. Is that good enough on the fix? All right, so let's kind of take it piece by piece. Let me go up here to the main complaint.
Well, I want to know before we even get into the complaints, did we know this was coming? Did we know this suit was coming, or did they just settle? And because it was literally announced that they were suing, and then settlement with a pre-recorded video by a very, very excited man.
So he was stuck. So you remember last year we talked about, I think it was like doom and gloom pending. I can remember the picture on the article being storm clouds coming, and they were talking about how this guy is suing Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, NAR, and it grouped all of these agencies together, saying that these agents are colluding, and a buyer doesn't have a choice in what they pay a buyer's agent, etc.
Right.
I could not find before the show what the end result of that lawsuit was, but I'm wondering
if this is the culmination.
Yes, I'm wondering if this has something to do with that suit, and if it is a culmination of that lawsuit in itself. I don't know if that suit was ever dismissed, or maybe it was just maybe they took that suit into consideration for this complaint. I don't really know, but I'm wondering if that kind of spurred all of this on.
Okay, so what is the first one?
Okay, so let's go after the first one, and we try to keep those BMORE chops kind of short so we can put them on the gram. So we may have to just chop this one up a couple of times just so we can fit it all.
BMORE chopped chops.
Chops. All right, so prohibiting MLSs that are affiliated with NAR from disclosing to prospective buyers the commission that a buyer broker will earn if a buyer purchases a home listed on the multiple listing service. So apparently, I didn't know that that was prohibited, but apparently including that data in the feed that's sent out to, is it public facing websites?
Yeah, it would have to be.
I guess it says MLSs that are affiliated with NAR from disclosing to prospective buyers. Yeah.
Right. So
if you go on Zillow, be included in some kind of public feed now.
Yeah. Now my question too is, like, Ray, specifically for you, you have buttons that you can and cannot send, or you can choose to send or not send. So can you still just not send it and keep it local?
As far as I know, it doesn't change the fact that you can actually not send a listing to Zillow itself.
Right.
So you can say, well, I don't want this listing appearing on Zillow at all. So is that an end around? No. I mean, people are where would they find out it's for sale? From realtor sites? I guess all the realtor sites are going to have to include this box.
Well, it's the website that Ray and I work. It's a national website where we're going to make it more consumer friendly than what our current MLSs are. So we're working on that.
Is that the Dumbledore's Wizards of Real
Estate? We may use Dumbledore's.
Website?
We may use
Dumbledoors.com.
Yeah, and we're gonna start a new association called the National Association of Realtors.
That's right.
So you'll have your Realtors, but then you'll have your Realtors, since everyone says Realtors anyway, and we'll just become the standard, and we'll do things how they should be done.
Muggle friendly.
So this one's just putting out the whatever the buyer's compensation is. It's making it public. I mean, I don't mind it.
I don't mind it. All right, so let's talk about ramifications of it. Dusty Martin's joining us. She says, "What up, my favorite bearded dudes?" Hey, Dusty, how are you? Melissa Mars says, "We just talked about this in an office meeting this morning." Oh, cool. Well, glad we could contribute. I don't think there was an end result to that lawsuit, so it may still be ongoing. You might be right. And Mike Elizabeth Riddell joins us. She says, "Chippity chops." I would watch that. Okay. All right. So, what's the end result of allowing the public to see how much an agent is making off of the sale of a property? Now, this is also my question. That commission amount is supposedly negotiable, even though we are all a part of MLS and we all have these compensation.
But it's not, though. The buyer's agent commission?
The buyer's agent commission is negotiable between agencies.
No.
It is in our area.
Yeah, for us, it's part of, that's the contract that's already been signed. Now, anyone can clear me up on this. I don't mind being wrong, but the commission's already, or the contract's already been signed between the seller and that brokerage. That's the commission. It's stated.
Okay, so there are instances in which that commission is stated as a minimum This is how much we will offer the buyer's agent as a minimum. It doesn't talk about any bonuses, extra compensation. I know I've been in situations, and you probably have, where an agent said, look, if you can get this under contract in 30 days, the seller will give you a bonus, or we'll put a bonus on there, right? And that's not stated anywhere in the MLS. So you just negotiated a fee. I also know of occasions where agents have said, hey, you have in the MLS, 3%. I'm just making up numbers at this point. You have in the MLS 3%. My fee to my buyer is 5%. I'm going to need you to increase it 2%. And the buyer will finance that amount into the loan.
Well, that's where I kind of went is, what about those buyer's agents that have a minimum for their, if it's 3% and they're netting or they're getting 2% on the buyer side, what is, like, I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's already disclosed. It's not just in a contract somewhere with their buyers, but like now they're going to see, our buyer's going to go, oh, well, I don't want that house because they're only getting 2%. I'm going to have to pay another %. Or I only want these that are 3%. Are they going to self-limit? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Would they put out $1 as the minimum compensation?
Right.
And then it's all negotiated between brokerages. So used to, before MLSs and all that stuff, it was all kind of negotiated. Like you'd call John and say, hey, John, I see you have this house listed. I want to show it. What are you offering the buyer's compensation? And it would be negotiated. It was in books eventually. But like way back in the day, it was all negotiated. And it technically is supposed to still be negotiated, or else you're going to say that that's a traditional price, which is why you have an antitrust suit. A couple of comments that we're getting is pretty good. Michael Elizabeth Rodell is suggesting another name for our association. She said National Association of Realtors with Rifles. That's good. I mean, you could do like a National Association of Realtors with Rifles.
Well, she wrote riffles, though. She wrote riffles.
She did write riffles.
So which does she mean? There's a big difference between rifles and riffles.
I like a National Association of Realtors with Rifles Associated. So it's the NARRA.
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 Just like Melissa Nara. Oh.
Colin J. Cameron said Realtor wouldn't create any confusion or litigation. You guys should do this. You guys got this. I'm on board.
See, I think there's sarcasm in there, but he didn't put the I, though. It's very, very specific. You got to put realtor and then ER at the end. Realtor. It's not realtor. It's realtor.
Well, it's all marketing. It's on our listing agreement between the seller and the brokerage. So it is on your listing agreement between the seller and the brokerage, but couldn't that change? Like there have been instances in which I've negotiated. There have been instances in which I've put the main commission amount, and that we wrote in that the real estate agent can split that commission amount as they see fit, given the marketing. And so what we did in this particular case, because it was like an investor, and he was like, I don't care how you do it, just use this money and make it attractive. So we wound up doing bonuses and all kinds of stuff. And I was constantly changing the commission structure to test stuff on the market and see how things would respond. So I could put a whole lot more onto the buyer or less onto the buyer. So it's just, I feel like that's not I think for 80% of the cases, 90% of the cases, that's going to stop the general public, or I mean, not the general, that's going to stop the general real estate agent from trying to misuse something, or maybe, what's the term I'm looking for? Deceive the public with that. However, I think if you still wanted to find a way to deceive, it's a very easy end around. It's just to change your agreement with the seller.
So you want me to read exactly what ours says?
Yeah.
So there's ours states the full commission and then what you're paying out. Right. So the seller agrees to pay to broker as compensation, seller paying to broker for services irrespective of agency relationships, either a percentage of the listing price or the exact amount.
Right.
Okay. And then it states specifically, seller has been advised of broker's policy regarding cooperation with and the amount of compensation offered to other brokers. And then number one under it is broker is authorized to cooperate and compensate brokers participating through the multiple listing services by offering to MLS brokers out of brokers compensation specified in 3A. And then you write percentage. How much.
Well, couldn't you write variable?
You could, but it doesn't read that way. Seller hereby how do you say that word? Irrevocably irrevocably
Uh-huh.
assigns the broker the above compensation from seller's funds and proceeds in escrow. Broker may submit this agreement as instructions to compensate broker pursuant to paragraph 3A to any escrow regarding the property. But it doesn't say there's no like it's not a minimum or anything.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could put variable. You could put that.
I'm just saying
there's a lot of leeway there.
Well, no, I'm just saying, as the contract states, there's no variable. There's nothing. It's not, this is the minimum or bonuses maybe, or variable or renegotiated. This is the contract, and it's between the seller and that broker.
Right.
Here in California.
Well, it's very similar to what we have in Arkansas, but you can put, I mean, you can just write in the word variable. You can put in the other comments, like the commission stated in this paragraph is to be the minimum commission. Anything above that at the discretion of the real estate agent, negotiated between agents or something like that.
That's a good question.
Wait, I want to get to her other comment, because let me get to a couple of these comments. Hang on. Melissa Marr says we could do bonuses, and I've seen them. No spot check box on the MLS for it. Usually it is written in agent's notes. Yes, so you put that in the MLS, but you know what the MLS says across the bottom? All of the same information deemed to be accurate, but not promised. Right. So there have been occasions where I've gotten a property under contract. It had the little V by the commission, right? It was variable. There were bonuses offered, but then they're like, oh no, we took those off. I just didn't remove it from the MLS. So could I have been a jerk and like try to hold them to it? Maybe, but legally it probably didn't have a leg to stand on. So Adrienne Gill, I love this comment. She said, because we sell realty, which actually spells reality. Yeah. I love that. Melissa Vara says, very few and far between. It is changed after the listing agreement is signed. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you sign the listing agreement, then you start offering these bonuses and stuff like that. None of that is in your listing agreement unless you're going through the process of giving an amendment to your listing agreement. So all of that stuff is done, and it's done in practice, and we're changing the listing agreements and all that. We're changing the terms of the buyer's agent compensation, but yet not signing anything. And so I think this rule, by making that publicly available, should also make it more stringent upon realtors to do that paperwork. Anytime you want to change anything about the compensation, you need to get it in writing with your seller. And then you have to change it in the MLS so everyone knows.
Well, and I mean, think about, then you list the home. Think about the purchase contracts coming in. I know it's different across all states, but you write up a contract and you say, agree to this. That you're asking the seller to agree to this. If they don't, they counteroffer. But there's no counteroffer to an RPA, to a residential purchase listing, RLA, residential listing agreement. There's no counter to it. So where would you negotiate? And then if it's not in writing and you just put it in the MLS, I mean, I would be careful with the DOJ having their eyes. It's like Sauron's eye on you right now.
Yes.
The eye of Sauron on you right now.
This is what I'm saying.
Like, be careful.
We have to be careful. You have to do the paperwork. You have to cross your I's and dot your T's. Adrienne Gill said, could we though? We can't practice law. Yeah, it's got to be limited on what you write in. We can, well, technically, most real estate agents have a limited practice of attorney in just the thing of real estate and can't draft documents, but fill in the blank. So if there is a blank for you to fill in, you could. Let's see. Adrian says, I do an amendment to a listing every time a bonus is added or removed. And that's the way it should be done. And that's kind of my point. Like in practice, the number of agents that do that is probably a handful. And in practice, that's the way it should be done every time. And every time that should also be put into the multiple listing service, so that now the public facing sites can change. If you're only sticking that stuff in the agent remarks,
right,
then it's still hidden. So, and that does not accomplish the DOJ's purpose. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting one. I think who's going to use it most are people that try to hide the agent compensation. They're the ones that are going to get screwed out of that. Which is wrong anyway. So that's good. Well, the other people that are going to use it are these discount brokerages that says you could get rebates. They're simply going to have a rebate calculator on their website that takes that commission amount and then calculates their rebate into that and say, if you buy this house through us, here's what you're going to save. But they don't tell you how much in negotiating you're going to miss, because those some of those folks are not the greatest professionals. But oh well.
Well, that too, and think about any buyer that self steers
Right.
What if they steer? They don't. They're unbeknownst to the buyer's agent. They steer away from any lower commissions.
Yep.
And then it comes back that the agent steered them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that could go on here when you're like, no, I didn't set that search. They did that on the Zillows.
Yep. I think Michael Elizabeth Brodell has a great closing comment on this one. She says, disclose. The mysticism behind the payment and how it works is why the public has an issue. This is easily solved with communication and transparency between everyone.
But just put it in your buyer's consultations. If you don't do buyer's consultations, you need to do buyer's consultations, but put it in there, how you get paid. And because you're not free to them. And there is a misnomer or a misconception that and they don't pay my commission, but I get paid. You know what I mean? So,
right.
You know, they still need to know. And yes, just exactly what she said. Or maybe Mike said that. I don't know. He loves hugs, by the way. If you're ever in Arkansas,
hug him.
If you're ever in Arkansas, go give him a hug. Just you don't know him, just run up. COVID or no COVID? Sorry, Rona or no Rona?
Okay, so the next part of this is allowing buyer brokers to misrepresent to buyers that the buyer's broker services are free, which I think goes back to what Michael Elizabeth Brodell just said. Yeah. By taking someone through a buyer's consult and disclosing, here's what we make and how we make it. In Arkansas, we tell them, like, here's the fee. You're obligated to pay it. However, you give us permission to accept all or a portion of that fee from the seller or from the listing firm. And so it's very clear that, like, they're in control of the fee because they have to give us permission to accept it from someone else, but I do get paid from someone else. And that's how we maintain the fiduciary responsibility of us to our clients while also not having them pay directly. Essentially, it's allowing people to roll in that fee into their financing. And what the lawsuit last year that we talked about was alleging is that that should not be allowed, that those fees should be dropped from the listings and then applied to the buyers. And if that would happen, I know there are buyers out there that would not be able to purchase a home because they cannot afford the professional representation, or they would try to buy a home without representation. And now you're basically taking away representation from someone who, quote unquote, can't afford it. So that's not a great solution either. You're actually taking away professional help from someone who may need it most.
And forcing them to do it alone.
That's right. So I think this is a better solution, making it public, and then people can decide what they want to do. All right. So any comments on that? I think
that's an easy one.
Okay. The next one is enabling buyer brokers to filter MLS listings based on buyer broker commissions offered and exclude homes with lower commissions from consideration by potential buyers. So this one, I didn't know you could do that first off. So I immediately want to go and try it in my MLS, set up a search for a friend of mine and just like exclude those with commission numbers lower than I am willing to accept.
I have mine.
I don't know if I don't think you could do it. I've never done it. So that, that's shady, but at the same time, as someone who regularly will put a bonus on one of my listings, because in a down market where listings aren't selling, it's really cool to put a little bonus on that listing and get more activity, because some agents do sort by commission. Now, should they not allow their clients to see homes because it is less commission? No, I don't think that's right.
That's a problem.
That's the problem. But I do still want to encourage, if I'm a seller, I'd want to put a little bonus out there to get a little more activity on my listing than someone else. I think that's a good price competition thing. I think by taking that, I don't know, they're not taking away the practice, but how else are you notified of that unless you look at it like that? Right?
Oh, wow. Uh-oh. You can in mine. Oh, my gosh.
You can filter on the agent side of commission, but can you then set up that search and send it to a client?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, so I'm doing it right now. It's got buyer's agent comp. So I don't want to give away my numbers because there's a teaser for later in the show, but out of those listings, if I put in a full 3%, it cuts it down by, from a lot down to 6.
Interesting.
So I could technically only send those listings,
right,
that are a full 3% to the buy side, and then just say, hey, these are my choices for you.
I would think that's fine. for you as a realtor to say, here are my picks for you. Okay. Are your picks based on your own selfish ambitions? Yeah, maybe. But is that okay to do?
Away from,
Here's what I don't want is an agent to say, here's all that's available on the market. That is, I think, a different thing. Like for an agent to say, here's the ones I want to go show you. Then there's this competition. Like, well, Dan said I could see these when this other agent said that there were 30.
Right.
Why is Dan only showing me these 6? So, and now,
right,
because the commissions are publicly available and they can see how much each is, I mean, they'll quickly figure you out. So I think that's okay for you to say, here's a group of listings that they have bonuses on them. I'd love to show you these homes. Right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, for a seller to be able to do that is beneficial to the seller, or for a builder to offer some bonuses on stuff,
right,
and to get more activity. And I think that's okay. But what I don't think is okay is if they say, here's all that's on the market, the excluding other potential properties. That I don't like that.
I know, but then we go back to the ethics thing. If you say, here's the ones I want to show you, and then don't give the reason why I want to show you these, that's your steering technically. So you got to be really careful what the meaning is behind it. And then, hey, these are my top 5 picks for you. Well, they're the only 5 that have 3% full commission, And I don't know. That's where, I would just be careful, because I disclose during my buyer's consultations the same thing and I say I cannot steer you towards any school districts. I cannot steer you towards any compensation. I cannot steer you towards any specific homes. I'm going to show you everything. I cannot steer you away from Pixel Properties because I don't like Ray. By the way, you guys need to remember, I tell stories in my head. So when I say things, do not take clips from the show and say I don't like Ray. I love Ray, but we all know what's going to happen now because we're highly watched by the paparazzi and the DOJ. But anyway, so just again, disclose it and stay away from nefarious thoughts in your little brain. Be ethical.
So this brings up a great question then. Let's take all these things that we've talked about so far, and let's talk about possibility. Wait, before I do that, there's some good comments. I'm sorry, guys. Mike Elizabeth said, I had no clue you could filter homes by commission. That's awful.
So here's the wait about that comment though. That's Mike. Elizabeth disagrees.
That's right. Obviously. Melissa Mara said, if we have it visible, sorting by commission should not be an option when setting up client searches.
Yeah. Like we shouldn't even see that. You know what I mean?
You should know.
It's a fair point. No, I know you should still see what you're paid, but not being able to sort it.
Let's say you have an agreement where a client's got to pay you 5% if they buy a house, and then the seller's only covering 2 of that. Then that means that there's 3% that they're going to have to bring to the table more. They should know that up front.
No. They should still know it. She's just saying you shouldn't be able to filter it out.
Oh, well, so you could use that as part. Well, my clients have agreed to pay me 3%. They don't want to bring any more to the table. So anything that pays less than 3%, they don't want to see.
But then they're making that decision, not you, based on what you get paid.
So, but you still have to send them everything that's on the market right now.
Absolutely, and then they
I'm
have
just
to make
playing devil's advocate, trying to think of ways to break the rule. All right, so Dusty says I only ever sorted commissions once. It was to see if there was a discounting trend in a high area. Colin JJ Cameron says the strategy of buyers agents being paid by the buyers would destroy high tax areas with low mid-range price homes.
Yeah,
in my area, FHA loan $200K home would have closing cost of around $10K plus a down payment, aka almost $17K. Add in 3% buyer's agent, folks would go represented all day. That would be more. Folks would go unrepresented all.
I think
and that would be a disservice to the client.
Yeah.
Dusty goes on to say, but usually I have a BBA, a buyer broker agreement for a certain amount, and then tell my clients I will always tell them the co-broker offered is less than their BBA agreement, and I let them choose whether to see the home or not. Some say no, I don't want to come out of pocket, so pass. So that is their choice. That's a good way to represent that we were just talking about.
So I'm not being any way, but I get paid what I get paid. So whatever the commission is now, if it's the $1 one, I'm going to have issues with that. Right.
I've accepted $0 before.
Right. But I'm just saying what I don't steer at all.
I told them that I would take exactly what the seller said they would pay. And in that case, the seller said, I'm not paying you a dime. So we get to like a week before close and they figure out that I'm not being paid. And they say, oh, you're not making anything from this sale? And I said, no. And they said, why not? I said, because I told you I would take what the seller was going to pay. And the seller said they wouldn't pay me anything, but this house is perfect for you. So they wind up coming out of pocket to pay me a bonus, but it was looking real thin there for a minute.
Yeah.
Like Elizabeth Rodell said, I feel that if we were disclosing commissions, we should also have to include how much we pay for broker expenses, team expenses, transaction fees, etc. Then they could see how little we actually get paid. Yeah, I mean, they are looking at the gross, right? They're not looking at the net. Oftentimes the gross looks a lot nicer. Colin JJ Cameron says, there's an agent in my area who only shows 3% homes, and currently there is nothing to stop them from this practice, nor is it easy to prove. Best agent commission move I've seen from a buyer's agent was to write on the co-op that total commission was to be split 50-50. Brilliant way to end around any stacked commissions. That's interesting. And what document was it written on? Let's see.
Well, so essentially, if they have, a different compensation breakdown in the listing agreement that's not split 50-50. Yeah.
Buyer's agent was to write on the co-op that the total commission was to be split 50-50.
I think they're a lawyer state. I think.
I'm not sure how that would work in our area, where that information would be input. So technically in our area, realtors aren't a party to the contract. So you shouldn't include realtors' compensation or professional fees in the offer at all.
That's what I've, you should not write it into the offer. You should write a very clean offer and then negotiate later.
Yep. Then Melissa Mars said, exactly, Dan, which I know I'm late getting to, but hey, I got to. Okay. So
every now and then I need a bump in confidence. So I appreciate that.
Let's go through some of the logical progression of what could happen here. If there's no incentive at all for a seller to offer a bonus or variable commission based on timing, based on prices, because there's no way for an agent to be notified of that other than like an agent email newsletter or something like, right? Is that going to decrease the amount of bonuses, variable income structures, high buyer's agent compensations? Are we going to see a shrinking of the buyer's agent compensation now because any properties that are out there, they have to be shown? And I think that's going to happen. Right. So let's say that happens, that buyer's agent compensation starts to shrink. It gets down to 0.5%. Buyer's agents are going to have to restructure their conversation with their clients in talking about fees, how they're paid. And I think that's good. Now, the commission shrinking, I don't really like that. But the conversation that it's going to lead to with the public is one that my team and I already have, and I wish more agents would. And so this could put out of business a lot of agents that are trying to act untoward and shady. I mean, I've had conversations with, I've had conversations with clients that have come to me after being with another agent, and they said, I can't believe that agent didn't tell us that. So,
right.
Eric said, blocked on Facebook, so commenting here, can't do a 50, I don't know what you did, Eric. Can't do a 50-50 request. The changes the other agent's commission, which violates ethics. Cannot use terms to alter another agent's commission. Oh, interesting. So
he's saying it would change the terms of the original listing agreement.
Right. All right, so let's get to the last part of this. Limiting access to lot boxes that provide licensed brokers with access to homes for sale on two brokers who work for NAR affiliate MLS. So basically,
that's the current rule, right?
That is it. So if you are not in an NAR affiliate MLS, you don't have access to any of the homes that I have listed. And it is a huge pain when you call me and say, I have a client that would love to see your home, but I don't have access to your lot boxes. Can you go unlock it for me? Are you kidding? I mean, that's what all agents do. Like, oh,
they're coming from out of area.
I want to represent my client. So I'm going to go unlock it. But that is a huge inconvenience, right? Especially if it's a short notice and how fast homes are going these days. So this, I think, is a great thing. And something that I think should have been done a long time ago, because I don't like the treatment of people that are not a member of the NAR and how the NAR treats people that are non-members.
Yeah. Like what if you don't want to be part of now you still would need to be part of a local board, but just not Ray's local board or the National Association of Realtors. What if you don't want to be part of NAR? This
You don't have to
opens
be
things
part of
up for
NAR at
you.
all. Yeah. You don't even have to be a part of a board. You could just be a realtor or a real estate agent without being a
You could be a
realtor.
salesperson, a real estate salesperson.
Yep. Yep. Your own little brokerage doing your own thing on your own island. And hey, you go sell a house every now and then. That's great. You can do
Yeah,
it now and
and
you'll have access. So I think this is awesome.
you might be from Little Rock, Arkansas, but you live 100 miles away now, and you're going to come back and stay for the week and help your friends.
Well, no, that can't work because it has to be licensed. So that would only work if I was licensed in the state of California. But
No. You're from Little Rock, Arkansas. You live in Arkansas 100 miles away.
Oh, yeah.
So you're licensed in the state, but
Yep.
you're not part of that MLS, but you're going to go stay for the week and help your friends find a house.
We'll see how often that happens.
I'm just saying, like, for an
I mean,
example,
technically, some of those would have access to our MLS anyway because they are part of an NAR affiliated
right?
board. So here locally, that could.
But what is
we
this
do
gonna
have a town
do?
that's close to us that is all on different key boxes, and it's a huge pain. So that's going to fix that.
We have two of those. We have Big Bear, California, and we have Idlewild, California. They're both in the mountains, and they're both like little mafias. Like, you cannot get into their lock boxes unless you are part of their MLS and their board. You cannot. So
Hot Springs.
it kind of discourages. Is it kind of an antitrust thing right there, right? Like, if my clients want me to help them buy a house, and
you're
by the way,
in that state,
but yeah, Big Bear's only, I'm licensed in the whole state. I can't go to a couple counties, but that's from my rock and roll days. So whatever, but they're north, they're not here. But my clients want me to help them, and Big Bear is only 40 miles away from me. It's not that far. They want to help me. I currently cannot.
Wow.
Idlewild, same thing.
Huh. Okay.
So
this will fix that. This will totally
well, and then
that.
like we also 3 years ago, sold a house that's about 326 miles away, and we had to partner with an agent there to get access to that MLS. So this would change that, right? I can sell a house anywhere in California, but what's this going to do for MLS access, not key box access, MLS access? So if I can't access one of those MLSs or see that house on my MLS, how can I go show it?
Well, you have a public feed on Zillow, and now the buyer agent compensation included.
So, okay, but now let's go that way. So now it's steering even more people and agents away from our own MLSs. Is that smart?
I hope. I think that coup needs to be broken up a long time ago. The NAR plus MLS partnership, I think that's got to go away. And I think that's the only way for a competitive market to happen in which we have a public facing MLS, just like actually, you know what, who's doing a good job of this? We've talked about in the past is Houston. And the Houston, HAR, Houston Association of Realtors, incredible consumer-facing site. Zillow doesn't have a foothold in the area because they have such a consumer-friendly site.
Yeah,
great work by them, and a model I think for all MLSs who are a part of the NAR but actually want to serve their clients, or which we are their clients. So imagine that. Otherwise, it's going to get broken up. It's got to.
So, by the way, Mike Elizabeth Rodell has a.
Oh, let me get to the comments here. All right. Quote, I have a client and I'm licensed in Arkansas, but I live in Florida. I need you to open the door while I write an offer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's happened already to me. So I had somebody in North Carolina say they were licensed and they wanted to write an offer, but I had to let them in. Colin J.J. Cameron said, I miss the day of the association's mob mentality.
He's always good for a little shade.
There you go.
Brought to you by
Houston. We have a problem. Can say the day. Yeah. And Mike Elizabeth Burdell said, if you don't have MLS, you schedule through Zillow, which is a pain and doesn't happen. Melissa Mara said, keys are in the outdoor shower.
Right.
Most beach homes that are listed. That's hilarious.
Okay. So, but now I don't even know if this is a real scenario that could ever happen, but what if you are a non-ethical agent and you have your own brokerage and you were finding, you were finding it difficult because you were locked out of MLSs, but now it's wide open and you can just go show any house. I mean, that's an if. That's a devil's advocate if.
This is a big if.
Does it open this up to sketchier agents being able to do more and get around, even though this is meant to, I guess create more transparency? Will this open up a door for the sketchy ones?
Well, I hope it puts more pressure on actual state licenses, right? State licensing bodies to take those licenses seriously. That's
and hopefully it puts more pressure on, like you said, to open up MLSs and be more consumer facing from our point of view, because I don't know about you guys as far as agents go, but what I look at, if I could share my screen with you, what I look at is it looks like a mid to late 90s website. It's just little fields. There's literally no consumer friendly about it at all.
Colin JJ Cameron says, but at what point is this a disservice to help your clients in areas that you do not use, that you are not used to working?
Right.
There's got to be a line, right? Like there is an area about an hour from me. It's 80% of the town is land lease. I know that I shouldn't touch that area because of it, but do other agents have that thinking? So I think y'all are thinking a lot about agents that are out of town that have a license in the state, and that is going to happen. But I still hear that echo, by the way. I don't think that's going to happen as much as agents who are non-members of your own town, in which they are non-members of your own town cannot show anything because they're non-members. I think that is the more likely and often scenario that we're going to see a lot.
Right. And then Tim Macy of the Tim Macy Show and #whiteboxing.
He says you can still restrict agents to certain markets, but let's consolidate the resources to make one great platform. I like it.
Let's Mapka it. Make our platform great again.
Nice.
Mapka. I like that I got a chuckle.
All right, so let's talk about October existing home sales. Dun, dun, dun. These are some crazy numbers, and I haven't looked at my personal numbers, so I'm relying on people in the chat to go look up the number of units sold from January to today, and then compare that to the number of active listings.
All right. So
MOPGA.
This one's a little bit longer, but I'm gonna rip through it pretty quickly. But this is from CNBC, and the title is October existing home sales see spectacular 26.6 annual gain, even with short supply and surging prices. But wait, I thought things were dying and homes were all gonna. I thought we were all gonna quit our business. But no, it's a horrible time to sell. Everything's going to go down by 50%. I'm not talking shade on Susie Orman. I love Susie Orman.
What?
But sales of existing homes in October soared well past expectations, rising 4.3% compared with September. That's just in 1 month, and 26.6% annually to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 6.85 million units. And that is according to NAR. We've been talking about them a little bit. Let's see. So that's the highest rate since February 2006. The highest pace ever was in 2005 at 7.1 million units. So sales could likely have been stronger if there was simply more available for sale. There were 1.42 million existing homes on the market at the end of October. And that's what spurred me. I want you guys to run your numbers. How many have you sold per month essentially in your area, your city, and then how many active homes now to give you the total available inventory. But there are 1.42 million existing homes on the market at the end of October, and almost 20% drop compared with a year ago. That's a lot. That is a big number right there. So at the current sales pace, that represents a 2.5 month supply. That's the lowest on record nationally. This isn't a Rancho Cucamonga story or a Central Arkansas story. This is national. 2.5 month supply nationally. So essentially, even colder markets or less hot markets or slower markets are even speeding up everywhere. 2.5 months national. That's crazy to me. The last time the sales pace was at the current rate, the supply of homes for sale was twice that is now. So 14 years ago, it was at a 5 month supply because there were so many more listings. So I ran my numbers. So it's essentially 110-ish per month we're selling in my city in Rancho Cucamonga. And these are just single family homes, no price range, nothing else. And we have 126 right now active. So we're way less than that. We're at a month and a half, month and a third.
Wow.
of inventory right now. And that's been that way for a while. That's up a little bit. We were just over a month's supply about a month ago. So it's up a little bit, but not enough to feel safe. You know, we want to be in the 4-ish month range, you know, to feel comfortable. But the extreme shortage of homes for sale is adding more fuel to the fire under home prices. The median price of an existing home sold in October was $313,000. That is up 15% annually. That is the highest median price on record and reflects the far stronger sales on the higher end of the market. So here's this one's crazy. Like sales of homes priced above $1 million nearly doubled, while sales fell in the lowest price range. So I think that goes to, you know, the lower end markets where it's just tough to find a home, you know. Here, why is this doing that? Hold on a second.
So
there we go.
Run my numbers. So Clayton Fernando Shrimp says, did I miss the fun? Yeah, you're going to have to catch the BMORE chopped on that one, my friend.
It was good.
Okay, so I've got to October. I just did to October because I know there's going to be some that close later in this month, right?
Yeah.
Contract. So I did 2,885 in our city. I divide that by 10 because I'm just going to October. It's 288 sold per month. All right. So when I look at current active properties, I'm going to take off those ones that are have an escape clause, or at least the ones that are taking back up.
Well, while you're doing that, there's 2 quotes here from this article. Now, the first one is from Danielle Hale. She's the chief economist over at Realtor.com. Okay. So she says mortgage rates could tick up in the months ahead and test the strength of the seemingly unstoppable housing market. She goes on to say, additionally, rising Rona cases, and I put the Rona in there because if we mention it, we get whatever. Rising Rona cases could also dampen sales. This spring, we saw both buyers and sellers hit pause on their plans in areas where the Rona spread was prevalent. While buyers were relatively quick to resume, sellers have come back more slowly. Okay, right? So a little bit of a negative or doomsdayer kind of point of view, right? Now, this one is from Lawrence Yoon, who is the chief economist for us at NAR. He says, it's quite amazing. A notable change in the tone. It's quite amazing. Even if the home sales were to go down to 6 million, I would be happy. The surge in sales in recent months has now offset the spring market losses. With news that the Rona vaccine will soon be available, and with mortgage rates projected to hover around 3% in 2021, I expect the market's growth to continue into 2021. How different are those 2 quotes from the same article?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. A doom and gloom, but wait, there's more good news.
Right, and they both hold the same job, the same exact job, just for different entities, but yeah.
So we have about a 2-month supply. Just over 2 months supply is
okay. That's crazy in Central Arkansas.
Yeah, that's pretty low for us. And when it gets down to a 2-month supply, that's for the whole city. Normally, like for parts of the city, it'd be like 1 to 2, but that's for the whole city. Is just over a 2-month supply. It's pretty crazy.
And then if you go back to Melissa's numbers, I think 186, and she has 3 something. She has about 2 months.
Let's see. Yeah, it's way up here.
I think it was roughly 2 months.
182 per month and 364.
It's exactly 2 months.
So, right, yeah. Wow, fast math, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, about 2 months. That's really interesting. 4 to 6 is considered balance. And then we're way off that.
Yeah, we're just over a month, so we're way off that balance. But interesting. So essentially, go out there and door knock or call and get more listings.
Yeah, at least try to make yourself known somehow. And for all those folks that have been using HomeSnap in order to make yourself known to you and your clients, I wonder if that's still going to work.
Why would that be, Ray?
HomeSnap just got acquired. Oh, wait, y'all can't see what I'm seeing. Hang on. 1 second.
I can see it. You're sharing your screen or whatever. You're right.
There it is. CoStar, Mike. CoStar acquires HomeSnap for $250 million. For those of you guys who don't know, CoStar is a commercial data analytics company. They bought HomeSnap for $250 million. I tell you what, I am in the wrong business. Instead of selling houses, I'm going to build cool apps to get acquired because that's where the money is these days.
Well, and you don't do it with your own money. You get funding for it and then you sell it. And if it doesn't sell, then they invested, and then you can invest in my next round of funding.
Clayton Fernando
Brilliant.
says, oh, snap. Laura Walker says KC metro area is 2 months supply. That was to the previous story. If you're watching this on Chops later, you got to go back. Melissa Mars says 2 months, but it is a lie. I can guarantee a chunk of those actives are actually under contract, but some of the agents have been updating statuses until commitments are issued. Ooh, interesting.
Ooh, that's unethical. And NAR should do something about that. Maybe the DOJ should know about it.
Maybe. All right, so let's go back to this HomeSnap. I almost said HomeStar. Let's go back to the HomeStar acquisition. Oh, what if they called it HomeStar? That would be so good. HomeStar Runner. You remember that?
Yeah.
Strong Bad. Anyway. All right. So the acquisition of HomeSnap will enable us to enter a new space and expand the total addressable markets in which we can compete. CoStar Group founder, CEO Andy Florence said in a statement. Quote, over the past 30 years, CoStar has become the leading real estate technology platform by working in partnership with commercial real estate brokers who serve their need for data, analytics, and advertising exposure for their property listings. Similarly, HomeSnap works in very close partnership with residential agents to serve their needs for data, analytics, and advertising exposure for their property listings. So this is an interesting acquisition. There were a whole bunch of questions raised. Again, this article is from Inman. There's a couple of other articles that talk about the HomeSnap acquisition. And one is some concerns that agents have. Is it still going to work like it has? I haven't really done much with HomeSnap. I mean, it was okay. I liked it. But my clients were saying, like, I still am having problems finding properties and I like your website better. So we still had agents we still had clients going to our website, but I'd have other agents like tagging me and stuff and asking me questions on HomeSnap, and I wouldn't see it forever because I don't ever check the app. So I don't know. I think it's a good app. I mean, I liked a lot of it, but I felt like it did some work. So I'm really excited about the CoStar acquisition or the CoStar's acquisition of HomeSnap, because I feel that's going to give HomeSnap some backbone that it really needed to become more relevant. And if it could start including commercial listings, if they could somehow merge that data or something like that, I would really like that. CoStar is it's a great platform for listing commercial property. It's phenomenal for that. So if they could somehow mix what they're already doing with that with HomeSnap, that'd be great. As a matter of fact, most of the commercial agents in our area don't use the MLS to list commercially. They'll put it on CoStar. So that's as if like agents here stopped using the MLS and was just putting stuff on Zillow. Just saying, what if that happened? It'd be crazy, right?
Doug has Doug Johnson. Does he mean 4 days on market or 4 days? Like
ours is running about 4 days. What?
His supply is at 4 days.
That's crazy, brah. That's crazy.
And then so many leading real estate tech companies. Clayton,
Clayton, that's so good. There's so many leading real estate tech companies, especially when you say it like that. I think.
Yeah,
I want to
every week.
I've got to do a commercial that is like the most contrarian, satirical commercial, because every time I hear one of the CEOs talk, I think about the utopian societies in movies. Like it seems so perfect and a wonderful utopia for everyone to enjoy. And then the camera pans around and it's people like living in slop.
Right. And who's volunteering for tribute?
That's right. Okay. So Dan, I'm going to need you to do something for me.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and go to the next article. And while you're doing that, I have to accept a couch delivery. I'm not even playing. So I'm going to put you up on the screen and you got this.
All right, that's a perfect transition to a former subprime player claims he can now short the mortgage market for climate and COVID risks. Huh. So this is one of the dudes. His name is Dave Burt, and it's kind of a heady article, but it's over on CNBC if you want to see it. But he's one of the guys that was part of the, if you didn't see the movie The Big Short, you need to go. The Big Short, The Big Short, you need to go watch that movie. And what was behind that. But he was one of these dudes. I don't think he's featured in the movie, or maybe he's, they changed names and he was, I don't know. But anyway, so he's a financial analyst who looks at risk in real estate derivatives markets. That's what he was doing back in 2005, analyzing vast pools of subprime mortgage bonds that Wall Street was creating and trading. He examined the homes and borrowers who owned them. So this is a quote from him. I had a strong suspicion that they would go bad. So Bert now says he can do the same thing when it comes to climate risk. So he bet against the subprimes. Now he's saying that he can bet against the market because of climate risk. He says that as the risks of floods, fires, and wind increase, the cost of owning a home will go up. Costs from higher insurance rates, higher taxes, and uninsured losses. As the cost goes up, the value of the home goes down, and consequently, the mortgage on the home is at higher risk of default. Another quote from him. He says, this is going to be much more broadly impactful than just a mortgage story. I think that's a crazy statement. So bigger than the crash that happened 12, 13 years ago. Now he's using data from Boston-based Risk, which is spelled RISQ, and they are a data analytics firm specializing in climate risk. He's looking at specific areas where home values are likely to fall from climate impacts, causing homeowners to walk away from their mortgage. Bert is essentially profiting off of people's peril. He admits that, with one caveat. And this is a quote from him. He says, honestly, I'm doing this in large part less for the profits and more to make a difference. The subprime mortgage problem, if people had become aware through realization of market losses, which I'm already lost. Like, how are people going to become aware of realization of market losses? But and the problems being created by subprime risk in 2005, 2 million households would not have had to go through foreclosures. Now Bert is adding the Rona to the mix because he believes climate and the Rona together make the bet even bigger. And then he finishes by saying the Rona has created a lot of problems fundamentally for the systems that support the housing market and have potentially been contributing to the mispricing of these climate risks and asset values, namely that insurance premiums are too low. So the story goes into much more detail, but it's over on CNBC.com if you want to see it. But it's interesting. Now, whether you think there's any validity to it or not,
to climate change or to the pricing models?
all of what he's saying, because he's saying to climate, and he doesn't call it climate change,
right?
But also he's saying the Rona, he's adding the Rona in there. But this is a dude that essentially predicted this happening in 2005 and bet against the market. And he does say in there, like he did then, he had to pay for these subprime bonds and he had to hold on to them. So he says, how long can I hold on to this and when will it happen? That's what he's trying to predict, is when will it happen and how long can he hold on to it to then bet against the market. And he does say that if he does make any profit, it's not all for profit. He's going to give away half of it to different charities and donate it all to help make a difference in the cause that he's trying to bring awareness to.
I thought that was an interesting story, even though I didn't hear all of it when I was reading through it earlier. It's interesting to me that investors are playing the COVID and the climate change. I mean, they've been playing the climate change stuff for years, but it's interesting to me that they're relating that into the housing, because so far housing's been all boom and no gloom.
Well, I mean, I always think of insurance this way, is that we pay monthly into these premiums, right? We pay. Technically, that they're using that, to pay out of their claims. But if there are, I don't even know what the rates are, but if 90% of it is just coming in as premiums, as your monthly payment, and 10% is going out as actual claims, then they should have, they should have enough. If all of a sudden there's this big, and it's not going to be, I don't know, in Houston specifically, because Clayton's commenting on the show, they have floods that come in. They have weather to deal with. Same on the Cheese Toast where Melissa lives. They have to deal with these. You can see them coming through the weather predictions, but to predict the value or the validity of climate change and when it's going to impact and to bet against it, I think that's a pretty broad stroke of the brush, isn't it?
Well, they've been trying to predict it for years and years and years and years, and have been wrong a lot. So they've been right.
Well,
very
it's not
few,
it's going to happen by this date. But when you watch things, this has changed, that's changed. But then again,
just go back and watch the first Gore movie. That's all I'm saying. Go back and watch the first Gore movie. Now that we're like 20 years beyond that. When was that?
I think it was 2000 or 1990.
Yeah. Just go back and watch all the predictions that they made, and then where we sit today, and just see how you feel about the predictions. I think it's a dangerous game. It's definitely speculative.
Well, it needs to be more awareness instead of predictions,
right?
Because when it's a prediction, people go, "Oh my God!" Everyone thought the world was going to crash, Y2K, right? And then they thought it was going to burn in 2012, right?
But what about when this awareness increases insurance costs by making these little flood, giving you a flood number over there in California? So
I'm just, again, awareness is never a bad thing. It goes into the disclosure thing to me, awareness of it. So if there's data out there saying this scientist says this thing and 1,000 of them agree, I'm going to go read that and then I'm going to make my own decision. But again, where you're saying though, but they're not predictions though.
I'm looking up the Roswell papers now to send to you, Dan.
Yeah.
All right. So let's,
from aliens exist
from scientists. All right. So Doug Johnson says we have 190 resale homes for sale in Ada County, Boise, and surrounding cities. 189 new construction. Never have I seen this. About 1% a month price increasing. That's interesting. So that was on our earlier story. If you're watching this in the Chops version, you go back.
And I believe you got to go back. Now you have to go watch it on the Chops, guys.
Melissa Marr
and
says,
I think he's in Idaho, by the way. I think.
Yeah. Let's see. Melissa Marr said, forget weather predictions. Tide charts are even more important. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Ebbs and flows.
Clayton says, you just need to be right once. Ask Susie.
By the way, it's even better.
Her
name is spelled S-U-Z-E.
S-U-Z-E. Yeah.
Suze.
Colin JJ Cameron says we have 2 months supply in his immediate area, 126 homes, but 58 of them are new construction. Only about 10 of those are already built. So some of that supply data can feel skewed. In reality, we have just over a month's supply.
Yeah, if you have an active non-built home, you're 2 or 3 months away from right. Is it actually available to buy and move in the next 30 days? No.
That's why I always take out the under contract ones when I'm looking at like they're active but under contract. Yeah, I'll take those out. All right, so let's look at some more housing data that says we're all doom and gloomed. The forbearance rate increased for the first time since June to 5.48%.
Wait, what? It was okay, so it was down at 2% is what you're saying.
Oh, what do you think it was down? Are you guessing 2% was the previous, and now it's all the way up to 5.48%? Is that?
I may know the answer to this, but it was down at 2%, right, Ray?
Is that so? That's what you're assuming. I'm just gonna keep.
Yeah. I'm assuming that it was down there, and now it's way up, and there's been this crazy jump in forbearance claims.
Well, Dan, you would be wrong.
Oh man.
The mortgage forbearance rate has moved up for the first time in 5 months. It's way up from 4.7%. From 5.47% to 5.48%. So it's a pretty massive increase.
Is that increase enough to write a story about, Ray?
It's always increased enough to write a story about, Dan. How else will we get people to click? But let's take a look at it because the article, I mean, that's the brunt of the article. It talks about this 10 basis points. That's not much of an increase, right?
It is. So, that's 10 basis points, or 1/100th of a percent.
Isn't that 10 basis points, or is that?
Yeah. Wait, or 1 basis point is 0.1.
What? It's 0.01. So it's
right. So that's 10.
It's a 1/10 of a basis point.
Is it less? Or is it...
Yeah, it's less.
Yeah, it's the other way. It's a 1/10 of a basis point.
All right. So Fannie
and 100th of a percent.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the article now, so you guys can kind of see it. The Federal Housing Administration gained 3 basis points to 7.73 in the forbearance portfolio. Private label securities, the PLS has increased 10 basis points to 8.48. And then it said the percentage of loans in forbearance, independent mortgage bank servicers remained unchanged for the week prior, 5.94%. So for the most part, the economy has not moved that much in it. They're saying that a lot of the people that went into forbearance, 21.32%, were in the initial phase, which is right here. And then the 1.92 or forbearance re-entries. So they estimate that somewhere around 2.7 million people are in forbearance.
That's the interesting
some
stat,
type of
the re-entry.
Yeah, some type of mortgage forbearance is that 2.7 million.
Right.
And let's see. Oh, so this was the part that I think deserved the consumer awareness, I guess. So we'll be on an awareness kick. This is the part that kind of deserved that consumer awareness.
But don't change any premiums based on our making this aware. Okay, just don't.
Right. So last week, Fred and Tony urged borrowers to contact their servicers for relief and access to options. However, for the third week in a row, the number of borrowers who did not make all of their monthly payments and exited forbearance without a loss mitigation plan in place rose to 12.9% from 12.8% the week prior. That number encompasses those who have exited forbearance from the period of June 1 through November 1. So basically, they've had of the people that are leaving forbearance, 12.9% of them had no loss mitigation plan in place. In other words, they had no we're going to pay it back like this or add it on to the back of the loan or anything. And I thought that was really interesting. If you are struggling, if you're out there and you don't, maybe you lost your job, you're not making your mortgage payment or whatever, contact your mortgage company. And then talk to them about the different forbearance options, because there are a lot of options out there, even if you've been through the forbearance process. And you don't have a plan in place to pay that back. You need to put that plan in place, and you can only do
remember, that. They don't want to foreclose on you. They don't want that. They want you to be able to do it. And I remember I wasn't in the real estate business, but I remember people going through the crash, and it was, people writing letters to their bank saying, "Hey, how can I just modify? I can afford this much. Can we modify?" And then, right. They're going to give you options. I mean, it's in their best interest, really.
I mean, if you remember, Clayton Fernando's Shrimps brings up a good point. There were companies that you would just call and ask, and they'd put you right on it.
Yeah, I want to know that stat. What was the oops stat?
Yeah,
because you just call in and go, "Hey, I had a question about forbearance." Boom, you're on forbearance. No, I don't want that.
Forbearance. So Clayton
you got forburned.
We need to cut up that commercial, by the way. Okay, so Clayton Fernando's Shrimps said, "Did Wells Fargo force more people onto it again?" Yeah, that's the big question. And 0.01% is huge, says Melissa Mara. All right,
that's
Doug
a crazy stat right there.
What a year ago we had 2,600 resale homes in Boise.
Now they have 126, but 58 of them are new construction.
Yeah,
that's a whoa.
Doug says, "Happy Thanksgiving, you guys. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Doug."
Yeah. So, side note, I'm going to spend Thanksgiving on Easter Island. It's very meta. Very, very meta.
I'm going to spend Thanksgiving in the woods. So thank you guys for joining the show on this special Tuesday. If you found value at all in what we do, please click the subscribe button, the bell button, and share the show. Yes. Comment on the YouTubes, comment on the Facebooks, and let us know. That is our only gauge to know if you actually like what we're talking about. And I see how many people of you stuck around to the end of the show, and I appreciate that because I can see the number of viewers. Our viewer counts are all whack because we share it in different places. So I've also learned that, like, I'm going to the different places, seeing different view counts. So they no longer merge those view counts onto one platform or onto one video. So that's weird. So we have lost our gauge to know exactly how interested all of you are in the show. The one thing that tells us are shares and comments, engagement, and that kind of thing. And if y'all love the show, if y'all love the information that we're talking about in this NAR versus DOJ, and you want continued stories like that, we're not asking you to pay us anything. There's no Patreon, there's no upfront fees, nothing like that.
We're free. Oh wait, we can't say that anymore, Ray.
We can't. You can't say you're free. You can say you're I'm paid by someone else. Okay, you don't owe me a dime, but we would really appreciate it if you would share the show, like the show, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. So we appreciate that. Dan, tell everybody where they can find you, by the way.
On Instagram only. The Ludwig Rocks. DLUDWIGROCKS. Do not go look at me anywhere else because there's some things about me I don't want. I'm just kidding. Just go to Instagram and then Clayton he's here just for the beards.
That's what Clayton says.
Where can they find you, Ray?
Doing bearded beauties. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, you bearded beauty. You can find me at Ray Zorback. That's RAYZORBACK on the Instagrams. And you can find me other places too, but mainly I'm on the Instagrams. I do a little bit of Snapchatting here and there, but just for the filters because I like the pretty face. So
I know, but then I just use the filters and then save it and share it elsewhere.
yeah, that's what I do too.
Okay,
All right, bye you guys.
Love you guys.